Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Tuesday edition on my YouTube channel. As you guys know, this is when I'm going to go ahead and give out my top waiver wire targets for the week, as well as my top 5 streamable defenses for week 7. As everybody probably knows, it is bye-pocalypse. There's a lot of teams on bye this week. There's injuries that have happened over this past weekend, so I'm sure some of you may be scrambling to fill roster spots and maybe find a starter, somebody that you could stream for the week. So I try to factor that in some of the decisions that I made for my top waiver wire targets, and then obviously the top streamable defenses if you maybe own one of those top defenses in fantasy and you're looking for an option. And hopefully maybe you don't have to drop your top option if you're one of those people that like to keep the top defense on your roster. But let's just go ahead and dive in to my top waiver wire targets of week 7. My quarterback ad of the week, I'm going with Tua Tagovailoa. He's available in 83% of the leagues. Now, was he perfect this past weekend in London against Jacksonville? No. He had that errant interception, which I kind of still am questioning what he saw. But he was able to showcase some good things. He was able to showcase his mobility. He looked as healthy as he has been since he originally got hurt. And then on top of that, he seemed to find a connection with his college teammate, Jalen Waddle. So if those two can build off of that, I like the type of production they can do going forward. And then on top of that, Devontae Parker will be getting back into the lineup hopefully this week. I'm sure Will Fuller, I think this will be his 3rd game on IR, so he'll be back eventually. Mckissick's looking good. Myles Gaskins a viable option in their passing attack too out of the backfield. So he's got somewhat of weapons he can work with. This past weekend he did have the 329 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had that interception like I mentioned, and he did run the ball 3 times for 22 yards. And then what I really like though this week is he does have a good matchup where maybe you don't want to keep him long term, but you're looking for somebody to stream. They are playing the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons have one of the worst defenses thus far this season, and I think that they could take advantage of that matchup where he can put up those type of yards again and grab you a couple touchdowns if you're looking for a streaming option at that position. My running back out of the week is J.D. Mckissick. This is a guy we probably should have already been added. He probably shouldn't be over my 50% threshold that I put on these as far as barriers, as far as players I'm allowed to pick for my list. But yeah, J.D. Mckissick, he's available in 58% of the leagues. This past weekend, Antonio Gibson ended up having to leave the matchup. I'm not sure where he is health-wise right now. There's nothing really much that came out over the last couple of days. But Antonio Gibson has been dealing with a shin injury. It sounds like I think he re-aggravated it, and then he had to leave. We'll have to see if he can play this week. If he can't, J.D. McKissick's kind of a really, I would say like a good flex play with maybe it kind of offers you an RB2 value, especially if maybe he can be more involved if Gibson has to miss. But if you're a Gibson owner, I definitely would get a hold of him as a handcuff if he's available in your leagues. This past weekend, he had 8 rushes for 45 yards, and then he had the 8 receptions for 65 yards, and he had 10 targets total. They are going against the Packers this week. I like the leaning on. I'm going to talk about it as you can see that tight end name. I think just like I mentioned last week with the Washington football team, but the Chiefs, they're probably going to be playing catch up with the Packers for most of the game. J.D. McKissick is more of a receiving back, so I could see him getting those 8 to 10 targets once again, and then especially getting more rushes if Gibson does have to miss this matchup on Sunday. My wide receiver ad of the week is Darnell Mooney, the Bears wide receiver. He's available in 56% of the leagues. Man, Allen Robinson, is he on the Bears? It just seems like he hasn't done anything. Justin Fields has tended to look Darnell Mooney's ways. He's seeing that consistent target load like I always talk about, what I like to see in my wide receivers and tight ends. And this past weekend, he had 5 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown. He had 8 total targets this past week. And then this weekend, they're going against the Bucs. So the Bucs secondary is banged up. They just lost Richard Sherman, who was there to help make up the loss for other starting cornerbacks. So their secondary is completely banged up right now. And then on top of that, their rushing defense in Tampa is really good. So I could see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not only their defense making it one-dimensional offense where they're going to probably eventually put more on Justin Fields' plate to throw the ball more at some point in the game, but then you got to also think that Bucs offense will probably eventually jump up and give the Tampa a nice little lead where Chicago is passing the ball for a majority of the matchup. And then my tight end of the week, I'm sticking with Washington, like I kind of teased earlier when I was talking about Mckissick. Ricky Seals-Jones Jr. Hey, he was my sneaky sleeper start last week. He had over 56 yards, 58 yards, and he had a touchdown, 4 receptions on the 6 targets that he had. He's available right now in 71% of the leagues. Like I mentioned, the football team, they're playing the Packers this week. So, like I mentioned, I think the Green Bay will eventually jump out to a nice sized lead. They're going to be a pass-happy offense eventually, and that's going to help Ricky Seals-Jones get more targets, getting involved in that passing attack, especially because outside of Terry McLaurin, I mean, they really haven't had much. Diami Brown hasn't really made an impact as a rookie. Curtis Samuel struggles to stay on the field. So, I mean, that's why you're seeing J.D. McKissick get 10 targets, right? So, if you're looking for a tight end to stream this week, especially with all these buys and all the injuries, I wouldn't mind streaming Ricky Seals-Jones for the second week in a row because he's done some nice things since taking over for Logan Thomas. And then my flex ad of the week. Yes, I'm going to go a homer pick here. It is my man, one of my favorite Colt players of all time. It's T.Y. Hilton. He made his return from his injury. He's currently available in 61% of the leagues. Now, obviously you want to see more targets for T.Y. He had 4 receptions, but he had 80 yards on those 4 targets. He offers that deep threat. And the thing what I like about T.Y. going forward for fantasy is this was his first game back, right? So he's going to be in the groove. He's going to develop that chemistry with Carson Wentz, and Carson's looking like a really good quarterback right now. We saw all the deep shots that Carson is taking over the past few weeks. Now, the Colts have lost Paris Campbell. He got hurt on that 51-yard touchdown pass that he caught from Wentz. So he's probably going to be out for the foreseeable future, if not the whole season, it sounds like. So, I mean, outside of T.Y. in that offense, I mean, there's some backups. Maybe they can take deep shots too. But T.Y. is going to be their main deep shot guy. So he's more of like a boomer bust play because you don't know how many targets he's going to get. But man, if T.Y. is going to continue to, progress his way back from this injury and stay on the field and be a main part of this offense, I see him getting to probably 6 to 8 targets a game. And knowing T.Y., I know he can capitalize on that, especially if Carson Wentz is going to push the ball down the field like he has over the past 3 weeks. So again, those are my top waiver wire ads. By the way, forgot to say, T.Y., the Colts are going against San Francisco this weekend. They got a good defense. It's going to be depending on how the offensive line can hold up against that defensive front of San Francisco. I don't like the San Francisco cornerbacks at all. So, I mean, if you're looking for a wide receiver 3 play, maybe somebody in your flex, T.Y. might be a good option this week. So, yeah, those are my top waiver wire ads. The quarterback position, Tua Tagovailoa. The running back ad of the week is J.D. McKissick. The wide receiver ad of the week is Darnell Mooney. Tight end ad of the week is Ricky Seals-Jones Jr. And my flex ad of the week is T.Y. Hilton. And then I'm going to go ahead and get into my top 5 streamable defenses. And I'll say this. The buys definitely had an impact on this week. It was definitely tough sledding. Now, I want to say tough sledding is just I had to find some really good reasons to list of some of these defenses because some of them have been either underwhelming this year or just flat out bad this year. And you're just kind of taking a gamble on a bad matchup, like I said last week with a couple teams. But my number one defense, I think, is already they've been a solid defense, but they've had a couple games there where you're wondering what's going on with the Saints team. But I think the Saints are a good play this week. They're available right now in 58% of the leagues. They're going against the Seahawks. Russell Wilson's out. Geno Smith is playing, so you're going against a backup quarterback. We've seen it. He's suspect to maybe throw an interception. Maybe he gets hit like T.J. Watt hit him last week and forced that fumble. So you got that turnover potential. The Seahawks offense is not going to really scare teams going forward. Now, I'll have to see if he's activated by Sunday, but Marcus Davenport has officially been... so when they make their return from IR, for those that don't know, the team can designate them return from IR, but then they have up to 21 days to activate them on the roster. And Marcus Davenport is part of that little process right now. And if he's activated by Sunday for the active roster, man, they're going to have Davenport and Cameron Jordan going off the edge that can collapse that pocket on Geno. So like I mentioned, I like the sack potential and I like some potential turnovers to happen in that matchup for the Saints. My second matchup of the week is the Raiders against the Eagles. Raiders are available in 86% of the leagues. The Raiders defense has played a lot better this year, especially underneath Gus Bradley. He's a defensive genius in the league. He's had a long time history of coaching up good defenses, and he's got that defense playing to their best ability right now, especially with Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue up front. They might have a chance to eat this weekend against that Eagles offense. That Eagles offensive line is very suspect. They're constantly moving pieces around because people are going in and out of the lineup. So there's not that really chemistry that's going on with that Eagles front. So I could see some sack potential out of with Crosby and Yannick coming off the edge. And then, I mean, Jalen, he's a good fantasy quarterback, but we saw like the interception he threw last week, and he's just not the best quarterback in the league. So you got that potential where that secondary can take advantage of that situation, and if Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue can get that early pressure on Jalen, and if they can like keep him inside the pocket too when they're getting that pressure, because he's kind of like he's one of those quarterbacks where you don't necessarily want him to get outside the pocket, because if he gets outside the pocket and the coverage is down the field on their guys, that's when he can take off for those first downs. So it's always kind of good to kind of keep him in the pocket and then try to collapse the pocket inside of him. And then when that happens, he might get hit when he throws the ball, and there's that turnover for you. And then my number 3 defense of the league is going to be the Dolphins against the Falcons. The Dolphins are available in 68% of the leagues. Now, this is the one where I'm kind of biting my teeth on. I'm kind of like not really 100% positive behind. I would definitely try to get as many. These next 3 are defenses I would probably see if I can get anything I can. And then with the buys and everything that's going on, if you get you're in a dire situation, desperate situation, these next 3 are teams I would consider. And it's just because they are going against that Falcons offense. Like, yeah, the Falcons offense, they've at time put up some points, right? Cordero Patterson's been a nice story for the season, but they've not really done much, right? Like Calvin Ridley has been very disappeared here and there. I know he didn't play last week because of a personal or 2 weeks ago because of the personal reason. Mike Davis isn't really doing anything. Kyle Pitts finally got involved, right? But that was against the Jets defense. So I don't like that offensive line either with Atlanta. So if there was maybe a get-right type of game for this Miami defense, this might be it, especially if Xavier Howard is healthy and he can play this week, and as well as Byron Jones, their other cornerback. Those 2 didn't play last week against Jacksonville. If those 2 are able to play against Atlanta, I could see them helping shut down that passing attack. And then I could see Jalen Phillips maybe getting a couple sacks here and there. Maybe Christian Wilkins blowing up the middle of the defense and getting some sacks on Matt Ryan. This is just gambling on what is supposed to be a good defense against a kind of mediocre offense. That's the way I view it. My number 4 play of the week is the Giants against the Panthers. To no surprise, Giants defense is available in 98% of the leagues. The Giants defense has kind of been underwhelming to me. I thought they were going to be a lot better of a defense. They were pretty good last year, but the secondary has been a major letdown for me because I like the pieces that they have in there. With that being said, they're going against this Panthers offense, which has been struggling. I wouldn't say struggling, but they have not played like they did in the first 3 games. Ever since Christian McCaffrey is basically, when he left that Houston game, Sam Darnold has reverted into the Sam Darnold we know, which is a turnover machine. And he's playing behind a bad line too. So I like the chance of Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence kind of, demanding the space, the attention from that bad offensive line. I can see them breaking through a couple times, but that's going to allow like a Cesar Ojulari and I don't even know the other edge rushers off the top of my head with the Giants. That's how bad it's been. They got Lorenzo Carter there too. So there are going to be some of the guys taking advantage of the one-on-one matchups on the outside, especially with that left tackle position for Carolina. That guy is not that great at all. So they could come off, get some sacks. Like I said, Sam's suspect is fumbling the ball when he gets hurt, and he's thrown I think 2 interceptions in each game over the last 2 to 3 weeks. I know he's at least thrown an interception over the last 3 weeks. So Sam's suspect to turn over the ball. So if you're super desperate and you want to gamble on some potential turnovers, you might want to consider the Giants defense. And then to go ahead and wrap this up, I'm going with the opposite game, Monday night game there where the Seahawks are hosting the Saints. There are Seahawks available in 92% of the leagues. Now, this is what I really I'm having a tough time, because that Seahawks defense has been very suspect against the pass and against the run as well. But they are going against the Saints at home, so I'm trying to play in the factor that maybe they can feed off the crowd energy in this game. And then you're talking about they're going against Jameis Winston, so we already know Jameis Winston you never know what you're going to get with the guy. One drive he's going to torch the defense. The next drive he's going to throw a pick six. So that's always something I'm willing to gamble on. I thought that, the Seahawks defense, I know the Steelers are not that great of an offense this year, but they at times were showing some decent things. The rookie Trey Brown, the cornerback, kind of stepped up last week. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know what's going on with Darrell Taylor, because he got carted off. Maybe he doesn't play, but if he can, I like the kid's his ability to maybe get some sacks off of Jameis. So, man, this is like, if all four options are available in front of you and there's no other random teams that are above the 50% threshold available in your league, and you're like, man, who should I pick? Maybe you gamble on a Pete Carroll defense at home on prime time in front of the 12s. Okay? So, yeah, that's my top 5 streamable defense. The Saints against the Seahawks, Raiders against the Eagles, Dolphins against the Falcons, Giants against the Panthers, and the Seahawks against the Saints. But yeah, that's my video for you guys. I hope I can help you make this push. It's officially that time where everybody's going to be pushing through the playoffs, and whoever can get, work the waiver wires, whoever can win these matchups when people are dealing with buys. This is who This is who separates themselves and closes those playoff spots down. So good luck to you guys. I will be back tomorrow. But as always, if you enjoyed tonight's video, hit the like button. If you have not subscribed, let's get me some more subscribers. Go tell a friend to subscribe. Let's push this thing, guys. I'd love to grow this thing as big as possible. And as always, go check out the Prospect Encyclopedia. You can order that at prospectencyclopedia.com. You can get the entire PDF for $15, individual team PDFs for $1. You can always check out the Bucks section for free. See if you guys like that type of content, and if you want to make the purchase, then you can go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and sign out so I can get this edited and uploaded for you guys. I'll see you tomorrow night when I do my top starts and sits for Week 7 in fantasy football.